This is the new Porsche 911 GT3, and it's the latest version of Porsche's hardcore track-ready 911. And here are the carwow top 10 things you need to know about it. Buying a new car? Then head to Carwow, and my team will help you find your next car at a fair price. Carwow, your one-stop car buying comparison site. You're not going to mistake the new GT3 for a normal 911, are you? It looks like a racing car that took a wrong turn at the Nurburgring and ended up on the Autobahn. The front bumper is completely different. It comes with one large air intake in the middle, unlike the standard 911 where you get some fiddly horizontal bars and vertical fins. And Porsche's given the bonnet some new air vents that don't come on the standard car. From the side, it's all business as usual, so it looks curvier for a 911. And because the GT3 is naturally aspirated, there's no need for a big air vent by the rear wheel arch like you get on the Turbo S. Speaking of wheels, you get 20-inch alloys on the front and 21-inch rims at the back, and all four have centre-locking wheel nuts, just like a racing car. The massive rear wing also looks like it was pinched off a racing car, but more on that later. And in case one wing wasn't enough, there's also a ducktail spoiler on the engine cover. There's also a new rear diffuser at the back, but my favourite bit is the dual-tip exhaust system. It looks like the exhaust on the old GT3, and it takes up all the space where the number plate goes on a normal 911, which means Porsche has moved the big reg plate up onto the bumper, and I think this looks much better than the arrangement on the standard car. But what do you think about the new 911 GT3's design? Do you love it, or do you think Porsche's played it a little bit too safe? Let me know in the comments. Almost every modern performance car comes with a turbocharged engine these days. From a little VW Up GTI with its 1-litre 3-cylinder turbo to a Bugatti Chiron which has a huge W16 engine with 4 turbos. In fact, only a few really fast cars come with a naturally aspirated engine, like the Ferrari 812 Superfast, the Audi R8 and a couple of Lamborghinis. But Porsche has joined the party with a new GT3. It's still keeping that engine naturally aspirated. It's a 4-litre 6-cylinder boxer engine with no turbos, so it revs to a crazy 9,000 RPM redline. Okay, so it doesn't make quite as much power as a 911 Turbo S. That car uses twin turbos to squeeze out 650 horsepower and 800 newton meters of torque, but the GT3 still makes a very respectable 510 horsepower and 470 newton meters. That's 10 horsepower and 10 newton meters of torque more than you got in the old GT3. So not really that much different. All you old-fashioned driving enthusiasts can breathe a sigh of relief because the new 911 GT3 will come with a manual gearbox. Hurrah! It's a 6-speed manual just like in the old GT3, and it comes with rev matching as standard in case you're crap at hill and towing. But it doesn't matter how fast you think you can change gear because the GT3's optional 7-speed PDK automatic gearbox will definitely shift your gears quicker. Sorry, manual fanboys, that's just the way it is. Though it's obviously more fun changing the gears yourself. The Porsche 911 GT3 is more track focused than the standard 911 Carrera. Well, obviously, but that doesn't mean that Porsche has got rid of every creature comfort. Sure, there aren't any back seats in the GT3, but you do get air conditioning, which will be a huge relief if you're a buyer in Dubai. Also, you get the same infotainment system as in the standard 911. Porsche has removed the standard car's gear selector switch though, so there's a proper meaty gear lever, even in automatic models. And you also get a set of low-slung bucket seats instead of the standard car's comfy leather sport seats. If you plan to do plenty of track days, you can get an optional Club Sport pack. This adds a roll cage and 6-point harnesses, and unlike most Porsche options, which cost more than a nice holiday, the Club Sport pack is actually free. Well, it's included in the price of the standard car. I think I need to lie down. It's very unusual for Porsche. If you choose to have your GT3 with the automatic gearbox, it'll do 0 to 60 miles an hour in 3.2 seconds. That's only half a second slower than a 4-wheel drive 911 Turbo S, and that's one of the quickest accelerating cars ever. The manual GT3 isn't quite as quick though, but it'll still do 0 to 60 in 3.7 seconds. Well, so long as you don't fluff your launch and gear changes. Now that's only slightly slower than the new 4-wheel drive Carrera 4S with an automatic gearbox. So impressive. But it's not all bad news for the manual GT3 because it'll max out at 199 miles an hour, which is a whole 1 mile an hour faster than the automatic version. I do want to know though, why Porsche didn't just eke out an extra 1 miles an hour so it could be a 200 mile an hour car. Why not? Marketing, I imagine. The Porsche 911 isn't exactly heavy by modern standards, but even the entry-level 2-wheel drive Carrera still weighs more than 1,500 kilos. Thankfully, the GT3 is a bit lighter, partly because it comes with loads of carbon fibre composites as standard. The bonnet, the engine cover and the rear wing are all made from the stuff, and you can pay extra to get a composite roof as well. The windows are made of lighter glass than the standard 911. You get a lightweight battery plus a new stainless steel exhaust that saves an extra 20 kilos. The front brake discs are 28mm larger than the old car, but somehow they weigh 17% less. And all this means that the new GT3 only weighs 5 kilos more than the old car, even though it's longer and wider. In total, the automatic model weighs in at 1,435 kilograms and the manual version tips the scales at just 1,418 kilograms. Now, I drag raced the old 911 GT3 against a Turbo S Coupe and convertible to see which was quicker. If you click on the pop-out banner, which will be popping out in the top right-hand corner of the screen, you can go watch that drag race video. There's also a link below the video for it. Having lots of downforce is great on track, but not so good on the road, because more downforce means more drag, and that means the engine has to work harder to push the car through the air. This is why most Porsche 911s don't come with a massive rear spoiler, but if you buy a 911 GT3, you probably don't care about fuel economy. You just want your car to be as fast around a track as possible. So the latest GT3 comes with an absolutely whopping rear wing, and it even gets things called swan neck struts. These originally came on racing cars, and they help produce more downforce and less drag because they don't get in the way of the air flowing under the wing. In total, the new GT3's aero bits help produce 50% more downforce than those on the old GT3, and that's in its normal everyday setting. If you need even more downforce, you can switch the wings and splitters to their performance mode. This gets you 150% more downforce than the old GT3 could manage. Although Porsche says you should only do this on track. Maybe they're worried you'll get your splitter stuck on a speed bump if you try it on the road. Nurburgring lap times don't really matter for most cars. For instance, do you really care that the Audi RS Q8 can do a lap in 7 minutes and 42 seconds? No, of course you don't. But things are a bit different when you're talking about a proper track spec car like the new 911 GT3. So it is a big deal that the new model managed to do a lap of the Nurburgring in less than 7 minutes. It actually did it in 6 minutes, 59.9 seconds to be precise. Now, if you can manage to get the lap time just under 7 minutes, Porsche, why couldn't you get the miles an hour just over 200, huh? Anyway, Porsche says that time is 17 seconds quicker than the old GT3 could do around the Nürburgring, and it's only 13 seconds slower than the last Porsche 911 GT2 RS, and that was one of the most insane performance cars ever. In fact, if you click on the pop-out banner, just popping out now in the top right-hand corner of the screen, you can watch my in-depth review of the 911 GT2 RS. Porsche doesn't like to make too many radical changes when it builds a new 911, which is why it's kept the same iconic silhouette since it came out in the 1960s. But this new GT3 has had some pretty big suspension upgrades over the old car. The big news is that it gets double wishbone suspension at the front for the very first time. This setup replaces the old car's McPherson struts, and it means the new GT3 road car has a very similar suspension system to the full-blown GT3 racing car. The GT3 does get the old model's rear-wheel steering system, and that helps it feel more stable at high speed, and it'll make it a bit easier to thread your way through narrow multi-storey car parks as well. Porsche 911s aren't cheap. Even the entry-level 911 Carrera costs more than £82,000, which is almost 10 grand more than the old model. So you can bet that the new GT3 is going to be even more expensive than its predecessor. And that wasn't exactly cheap either. It set you back more than £100,000. So if you want one of the new GT3s, get ready to spend more than £110,000. And that's before you've added any of Porsche's famously pricey optional extras. Now, if you'd like to check out the latest lead deals on Porsches through CarWow, click on the pop-out banner up there to go check out the deals.